Alright, for chapter 2 of What Should I Do, it's really considering the teacher identity. And I know in my own experience, going into my first year of teaching, I had some preconceived ideas of who it is that I was as a teacher, what I wanted to do in my classroom, who I wanted to be, what sorts of relationships I wanted to have, what my policies and procedures were going to be. But the truth is that you don't really know until one, you get into your classroom and start teaching, and two, you know who your students are. Many of my policies and procedures have changed throughout the course of the year because the students that I have from class to class are different. And it's not a one size fits all. I can't possibly give a set of rules to everyone that's going to apply to all of my students. For instance, my sixth period class is going to be much different than my first period class. Generally speaking, I'm going to have all of my students there on a regular basis. Whereas sixth period, there's students who leave early for sports throughout the entire year. For students who are in baseball, they leave multiple times a week early from class. And so I'll be lucky if I see them 2, maybe 3 times a week. And so it can be difficult for the same procedures and policies in regards to work and homework to be the same for those students as it is for, say, my first or third or fourth period students. So there's always different considerations that have to be made. Personally, it's very, very important to me to establish a relationship with my students. And that takes time. Not only do I need to learn about my students, but I feel that it's important for them to learn about me. If we're going to have a relationship, they need to know that they can trust me. They need to know that I am someone who can, in one way or another, empathize or sympathize or connect with them on a basis other than I am your teacher, you are my student, you have to listen to me. Because that's not the best way to go about teaching, in my opinion. So it's really important for me to share some information about myself with my students. And that information comes at different periods throughout the year. After I've learned some more about them and we've established a little bit of a relationship, all of my classes aren't going to connect to the same information as others. I can share some things with one class that I may not be able to share with another just because of the personalities and attitudes in the classroom itself. But that's really important to me. And as a teacher, I'm still formulating my identity. And I truly don't believe that I'm ever going to have one solid identity. It is continuously changing, year to year, class to class, semester to semester. And that's okay. You have to be flexible. And I think that that's what teaching is really all about. You never know what's going to happen next. There's always going to be a curveball, and you need to be able to really roll with the punches, if you will. So that is a huge part of my identity, is not being so firm on things necessarily, but to really be flexible with my students, and in return they can be very flexible with me, and it's a give and take relationship, and I think that really works for us. So one piece of advice I would definitely give to first year teachers or teachers in general is just to really feel out your students, feel out who they are, and kind of meld your relationship off of that, because you don't want to establish any relationships that could end up being detrimental because one person is taking maybe offense or is just really shut off from the other person. So you gotta find that way for open communication, which is really, really important in my opinion.